Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we're going to be talking about our favorite games from 2022. Now these are games that were new to us in 2022, not necessarily games published in 2022, because I just didn't play enough to make a full list. I know that a lot of the lists you see right now are new games in 2022, but I don't focus on just always getting to the new hotness. I like playing a lot of old stuff or older stuff. In fact, the games on this list are from 2020 through 2022. So they're all fairly newer games, but I'm just not always driving straight at whatever is the latest hotness. I like figuring out what I like from a few years ago. And if I'd extended this out beyond the 8 games, then you'd see stuff from quite a while ago actually on the list as well. So I will say though, in the top 8, there are 3 games from 2022. So you still get to see some really good games from this past year. Now, before we get into the top 8, I do want to mention our sponsor, StoneValleyGames.com. This is a fantastic, friendly, distant game store at StoneValleyGames.com. Go check them out. They have all kinds of stuff going on over there. They've got a huge selection of games, new hotness, old classics, everything in between. Eric and Wendy have a really, really good thing going over there. They will, if you're in the military and you are overseas with an AA, AE, or AP address, they will ship to you for free. If you have, or if you are in the continental United States and you purchase $100 or more, they will ship to you for free. And then if you are a returning customer, they do have a loyalty program for you to check out as well. So much great stuff going on over there. Of course, I do a lot of solo gaming on the channel. I do a lot of solo gaming in my off time, and they are big fans of solo gaming themselves. In fact, that's one of their passions in the hobby, and so they have a lot of stuff over there to support solo gaming. But of course, that's not the only thing. They support the hobby in general. So go check out StoneValleyGames.com. All right, so now we are going to do this by the minute. So it's going to be an 8-minute timer starting right now. Okay, so number 8 is Infinity Gauntlet, a love letter game. This is, of course, as it sounds, in the love letter series of games based on that system, but this really takes that system and turns it on its head. You actually have teams. It's a one versus many game. You have one person playing as Thanos, and they have their own deck of cards, and then everyone else is playing as the Avengers, and they have their own deck of cards. And this is, as far as I know, the only love letter game, the only game in the love letter system that does not have player elimination. It actually, you play until one team or the other has lost all of its life, or if Thanos collects all of the Infinity Stones and has them out in front of him or in his hand. And so if that happens, then Thanos wins. If Thanos drains the Avengers' lives down to 0, that wins. Or if the Avengers drain Thanos' life down to 0, they win. It's a really cool twist on the love letter system. That's Infinity Gauntlet. Number 7 is Splendor Duel. This is one that I actually got for my wife for Christmas because Splendor is her favorite game of all time. It had grown a little stale for me, not so much for her. So I decided to throw Splendor Duel into the mix, and we've played it, and she loves it. And surprise, surprise, I love it because Splendor has never been one of my games that I've considered a top tier game, but Splendor Duel was a blast. They have taken the Splendor system. There's a board in the middle of the table now where the jewels are placed out on that board. And so when you are selecting your jewels, rather than just being able to pull from the stacks of jewels like you can in Splendor, you actually have to pull adjacent jewels from the board. And so when depending on how they get placed out, that can really change up what your options are. They've added a couple of new jewels, let's say jewels there, pearls, there's 2 pearls in there, and all kinds of cool little tweaks, and it changes to the system for Splendor Duel, and this was a 2022 game. Number 6 is Tiny Epic Dungeons. This is one from the Tiny Epic series that really blew my mind when I got it, because up to this point, the Tiny Epic series I thought was really cool. I loved what they were doing with creating a pretty large feeling games in small boxes and small packages. But this one really was the first one to really grab me and make me see the not see the potential, but really enjoy these Tiny Epic games. To the point where I just kept playing it and playing it and playing it. I took it on a business trip I went on and played it every night in the hotel. It feels like a pretty big dungeon crawler in a box. It also has a pretty strict timer on it. Like, you are really having to run against the clock to beat the game because of the way the system works. But it is a lot of fun, and that's Tiny Epic Dungeons. There's so much content in it. It's really impressive. Tiny Epic Dungeons. Number 5 is Pandemic Legacy Season 2. This one actually is probably the oldest one on the list. This is from pre-2020, actually. But this is the follow-up to Pandemic Legacy Season 1, of course. Season 1, though, felt like the Pandemic system, but with a Legacy sheen added on top of it, right? Season 2 really takes that system and makes a lot of major changes to it. For instance, you are actually trying to spread cubes, because in this game, cubes are supplies, as opposed to in normal Pandemic where you're trying to remove cubes from the board. There are still disease cubes or something that can end up out on the board, but it's really, really bad when they do in Season 2 versus, Season 1 and regular Pandemic, where they're just always just a ton of disease cubes out on the board. So on a lot of cool twists in the story, it's a really challenging game. That's Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Number 4 is Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is one that I cannot wait to get to the table again. I don't own this one, my buddy does. You are explorers in the jungle or something like that, and it's a deck building game, and you're also working your way up these different tracks on the board. And as you do different things, you're able to kind of unlock the ability to go deeper onto the track. And there's lots of different pathways and things you can be doing that you advance in various ways. So it gives you lots of options for how you want to try to move up on the track, and how you want to try to achieve victory by the end of the game. I love it when games have like the multiple different things that you could be paying attention to, and the different options for you with how to try to pursue victory, because you really never can quite tell who's kind of in the lead until you get really deeper into the game. And I like that. It always feels like everybody might have a chance. And let's see, that was Lost Resort. Number 3, Dune Imperium. This is another deck builder. And it's got another one that has a ton of stuff going on, a ton of options for where you want to go. It's got some combat in the middle of the board. It's got, I forget what it's called, like a loyalty track or something like that on the side of the board. And just lots of options. That's what I like about both of these games, is all the options on the board. Now, my same buddy who has Lost Ruins of Arnak has Dune Imperium. That one I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to play here in March again, when we go to his house, Dune Imperium. He just got the new expansion as well, a couple expansions. The first expansion was fantastic and did not feel like it bloated the game at all, so I'm excited to try this second expansion that he just got. Number 2 is Nemesis Lockdown. This is from 2022. This is a follow-up to the original Nemesis system. It makes some changes. It has you on Mars rather than in a spaceship, and it's still kind of the same idea, though. You are trying to escape this facility while that's been infested with an alien presence. But at the same time, the corporation that owns the facility, you don't know what their intentions are. Maybe the corporation plans to wipe everyone out just to get rid of any witnesses of what happened. Maybe they or maybe they plan to save everybody. You don't really know, and so you're trying to suss out what the corporation's intentions are. You're trying to figure out how you can get off of out of the facility while also achieving your personal goal. And it really is a really intense It's sort of cooperative, but also maybe not, depending on what exactly your goals are. That's Nemesis Lockdown. And finally, number 1, Aeon Trespass Odyssey. This was a number 1 by a mile. Aeon Trespass Odyssey. This is the first boss battler I've gotten after Kingdom Death Monster. Kingdom Death Monster, of course, one of my favorite games of all time. I've actually just unboxed a new expansion for Kingdom Death Monster right before filming this video. So I still love Kingdom Death Monster. Aeon Trespass Odyssey is the first game I've seen that I really feel like, because Gloomhaven came in, and Gloomhaven kind of made a run for my number 1 game, but ended up not quite getting there. And Gloomhaven and Mage Knight kind of all hover just underneath Kingdom Death Monster. Aeon Trespass Odyssey is going to make a run for that number 1 game spot. We'll see how I feel come May when I do my number one or my top 20 or whatever, however many games I'll do this year. What I did 50 last year. We'll see how many we do this year. Anyway, Aeon Trespass Odyssey takes that boss battler system and adds an exploration aspect to it, where you're actually going around a map and trying to solve this mystery or whatever. It has a narrative campaign book that you're working your way through, in addition to fighting these crazy bosses. And has the combat has some very similar aspects to Kingdom Death. It's clearly inspired by Kingdom Death and builds off that system, but then it has evolved that system into something else as well, and it is fantastic. Lots of videos already up for Aeon Trespass. I'll probably be filming another one here soon, because every time I fight a new monster that I have not featured yet, I will have that video posted. I'll also be filming an instructional series for Aeon Trespass in the very near future as well, so be sure to come back and check that out. What else do we have coming up soon? We've got Australia, how to play Australia, how to play Keystone North America, how to play Frosthaven, whenever that game finally shows up. How to play Perdition's Mouth. I've got to finish that series as well. Got 2 more videos in that series. Lots of great stuff coming up. Be sure to come back, check all that out. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.